Hey everyone, this is Charlie the Plug, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, powered by Empower You Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe so you too can be a part of the biggest empowerment network on YouTube and Facebook. We bring you weekly interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship, community involvement, also reaction to business news and community news. This does not happen without your support. Thank you.
Now, how would I share?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. I am Charlie the Plug, Charles McKay, aka Charlie the Plug, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. Each week we feature interviews of what we call Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. And I'm excited about the launch of the fall season 2024. So I'm here in my home studio here in Southfield, Michigan. I'm in a process. I'm actually going to be moving next month in Detroit, and I'm going to be building a studio there. And I'm excited about announcing that. Welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast live stream. Shout out to those who are joining us on our YouTube channel at the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, on our LinkedIn at Charles McKay LinkedIn page, as well as our Facebook page at the Detroit Metro Plug podcast. I'm excited because we have an interesting topic tonight. We are on the eve of the presidential debate. We're on the eve of the presidential debate. And this is, a lot of people are saying, this is, an important election, a consequential election, as some people may say. And so we're going to talk about Politics 101. How can you get involved and make a difference? We're going to talk about that. We have a very special guest who's a community organizer. And I'm going to do a formal introduction of her. But welcome those who are joining us live. If you have a comment or question, please put that in the comments, and we'll try to address that and try to highlight your comment or a question you have for myself or our guests. So again, we're excited to do this. And for those who may watch the replay on Facebook or YouTube, definitely want to encourage you to leave comments, and I'll try to respond to those as well. All right, so we're going to get started with our topic. First, I kind of want to share, I'm going to share a few slides here. Let me add that onto the screen. Okay, there we go. Let me pull this back here. All right, so I want to share, I'm in the process of moving, and we're going to talk about just where do you get started with your political engagement. Well, the first place that I think that you should get started is you want to know who are your elected officials. We live in what we call a democratic representative government, and you have people that represent you on your behalf. They write legislation, create bills, they vote on your behalf. And so you have to start, well, who represents you? And then I always like to start with local. So I'm moving into the zip code 48202. And according to the city of Detroit, that is District 5 for the Detroit City Council and the district map. So I'll be living in District 5 for the local for the city of Detroit. Okay, so now I'm gonna make this real quick. So according to the current website, the mayor's office has representatives for District 5. And as you can see there, I gotta put my glasses on here. They have people, their contact numbers, their emails, who represent on behalf of the mayor. So I don't have a relationship with Mayor Duggan. Maybe my guests may have. I don't have the mayor's cell phone number, or I can't just FaceTime the mayor. But they have representatives. So they have a district manager, business liaison for those who have businesses in that district, and they have they call a deputy mayor for that district. And you can go to the website. There's their phone numbers. There's their phone numbers, emails, and it's right there. So boom. All right. So now I'm going to be living in April, not April, October next month, 48202, I'm going to be represented by Mary Sheffield. Now, it doesn't matter. I share this thing. It doesn't matter if you voted for these people. They're there to represent you, whether you like the candidate, disagree or not. You should know their information, let your concerns be known, so that they want to know what's going on in their constituent. So let your voice be known. So there's Mary Sheffield. That's their website. Now, here's a pro tip. Elected are busy. They're probably not going to take your call directly. So a pro tip is develop relationships with their staff. Number two or number three person. Okay. So here on Mary Sheffield's page, you'll see she has a executive assistant. And so you want to have, there's their number, their email. And if you want to, you have a concern or issue or let your voice be heard, I would recommend emailing their assistant, the number two staff, because they handle the schedule. And then also when you go on these websites, sign up for their newsletter. They'll let you know when there's meetings. Some of the meetings are Zoom, some of them in person. And that's how you build relationships with people. Find out what committees they're on, what bills they're on. That they got going on. All right, so that's city council. Then I'll be living in District 2 for the Wayne County Commissioner's Office. So the representative will be Jonathan Kinlock, and there's his information. And then he has an administrative assistant. So so we start out with the City of Detroit, Mayor's Office. Then we have City Council, District 5, Mayor, Council Sheffield, and we have Jonathan Kinlock, Commissioner. And then we go to the state rep. Now, he represents the district that I'll be living in. This is Mike McFall. He's a state rep for the state of Michigan, not U.S. federal, state. So he represents that district I'll be living in Lansing. And if you go to his website, information is there. You'll see what committees he's on. He has staff. You can send emails. You can go to their meetings. They'll send newsletters out. This is how you can let your people who represent you at Lansing. And then if we go further, for the state senate, and for state, they're term limited. So they usually, I think it's 3 terms. Stephanie Chan is the state senate for the state of Michigan and Lansing State Senate. State Senate has bigger demographics. So it encompasses Wayne County, Oakland, some of them Macomb. Okay, so and there's some information. Email, cell phone number. That's the state rep. Now, let's go to I'll be in District 15. Sharif Thadadar. I said it right. No offense if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. He's the Democratic congressman for District 13. He's running he ran a primary, won the primary, and then of course they run a general. And I'm not sure if there's candidates against him, but he's District 13. And so if I want to get in contact with my congressperson, and if I have concerns, whether I agree with them or not, or voted for them, they're there to represent you. Then if we go further, let's see here. State, federal senator. So currently is Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters. And as you know, if you were living on the rock in Michigan, Debbie Stabenow is not running for re-election. So there was a primary, Hill Harper versus Melissa Slotkin, and Melissa Slotkin won the primary. That's who. I slipped my name who's running against Melissa Slotkin as a Republican candidate running. And so those are just basically you start politics 101. Know who's in office and who's their representative. Now, as a disclaimer, this show is about education. This is not really a political show's business, sharing community news. So I'm not here to endorse the candidate. I'm just here to share information. And our guests, how do you get involved? How do you make sure you're registered to vote? Where do you go to register? And then how do you engage in the community as an organizer? Or, if someone I showed on that list you don't like, guess what? We live in a representative democracy. you can run. It's not to run against them. You have the right to do that. And so we're going to talk about that. So now I want to transition to bring on our guest, and I'm going to do a formal introduction for our guest here. I got my glasses on, so I'm going to read this delicious bio. So, and let me add this. I'm going to add this person to the stage here. All right. So let me do this formal introduction. Our next guest is a proud, dedicated Detroiter and dedicated to social justice in her community. She is a community organizer. She advocates for transportation justice, food security, equitable education, environmental justice, urban safety, and sustainability. She's been featured, in local major publications. Our next guest has served as a Detroit Public Schools Central District educator, Detroit Census captain, Detroit Future City and Mogul Bike Share ambassador. She currently is a lead voter engagement organizer for Mothering Justice. She holds a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University in journalism and a master's in social justice from Mary Grove College. Ladies and gentlemen, let us walk to episode 121. None other than the dedicated Detroiter, community organizer,
an educator.
and educator, Deanne Justice. Yes. Okay, so thank you for being on this podcast and for your time and coming to the home studio here. So I want to ask if someone was to ask you, who is Deanne Austin? What would you tell them?
Oh my gosh, that is just so many things. First, I'm always, a child of God, a Black woman, proud to be Black woman. Proud Detroiter, I think is just one of the main things that I run by. My grandmother called me the Puritan princess. And so Detroit is the city that I rep. I love it's the greatest city in the world. And so I'm just proud to be in it. I live here, been here most of my life. I did go to East Lansing for a couple of years to get my bachelor's degree and came back home, went straight for social justice at Mary Grove College. I'm dating myself, back when it was not a DPSCD school, but a Catholic, higher education school. Got my master's there, and just been trying to find my way as an elder millennial in the city. And so, again, just a proud Detroiter and trying to make sure that I leave Detroit. When I leave and close my eyes forever, it's in a better position. And I'm just here to mobilize other Detroiters and make the city a great place, which it already is.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I did a little bio and read a little bit about your information, and we talked about some of the things that you are passionate about, and you talked a little bit about how you describe yourself. So where did this desire to do stuff in the community? How did that get started for you?
Well, it starts, I believe, kind of naturally. I think when you talk about social justice, there's so many different issues, but it starts, I remember just telling my mom, my grandma, I was a little helper, and I wanted just to help people. And I think that it just started with that. I went to undergrad for journalism. I thought I was going to be Oprah, or at least, a weather girl on Channel 7, or, a broadcaster. And then life happens. And I'm like, well, that, wasn't one of my dreams that came into fruition. And so I think for me, coming back to Detroit after graduation, I graduated at the height of a housing crisis, like we are kind of sort of in now, the height of the recession. And I had to take a job in manufacturing. And so I was not working in my field. I came back home. My mother was going through some things. She fell ill. And so I was taking like 3 buses to get to a job in Livonia just because the economic opportunities were very limited back then. And so that while I was going to grad school was really where I was what the kids say in the trenches. In 2019, I went to education. I became an academic interventionist for DPSCD at Henry Ford. Shout out to my Ford dogs, my Henry Ford Trojans. And I want to say about almost 2 years ago, I left DPSCD to become an instructional coach with a nonprofit called City Year. And they have a chapter here in Detroit. But all while doing this, I really got into community organizing. And so whether that was Mother Justice back in 2018 or Detroit Future City or Mogo, I was just trying to like find my passion, whether it was sustainability, where it was an environment. The houses were flooding. And I'm like, this is not just a me issue. This is a neighbor issue. Or there was food security, right? So making sure that, we can have some urban farming here in Detroit, be a little bit healthier. I know when I was an academic interventionist, being a high school educator, I was just looking at the things that were affecting my students, right? When we think about chronic absenteeism, many of my students were, they suffered from asthma. They didn't have proper, transportation. Oh, Miss Austin, I'm late because I had to get from the east side over here, and then my mom's car broke down. So I think coming from empathy, you start to care about all these really, really different issues that not only affect you but others as well. And so that kind of led me in that social justice space.
All right, awesome. That's awesome. Man, it's an incredible story of your journey in the social justice space. So in my intro, I kind of talked about our topic of politics 101. How do we get engaged? And I know you have a lot of experience as a community organizer, and we're on the eve of presidential debate in the upcoming election in November. So what do you have to say about people who are kind of apathetic about what's going on in our current state of politics?
Well, I know for me, it kind of breaks my little heart a little bit. I know everybody, is not a political person. However, when being a woman, being an African-American woman in an urban city, our community, it's hard for us not to be political, right? When you think of systematic oppression and racism, policy is what affects us, especially Black and Brown communities. And so it's hard to say, oh, I don't want to talk politics when politics kind of decides our fate in a way. And so that's what got me into policy and motivating others to, get into it. And I think there is this kind of idea that, oh, you have to go to school or you have to go into law. And I think that's where social justice and politics kind of coincide, right? They affect it, So when people are, where did that new bike lane come from? Or, oh my goodness, why don't this school has these resources? Or wait a minute, they're building a new park. How? What made who made this decision? So when you think about elected officials and policies and laws, you say, oh my gosh, this does affect me and the people around. And so I think for people I encourage them to get a little bit more political savvy. We are coming from a nonpartisan kind of foundation, but I would want people to be more civically engaged and be tuned in a little bit. I know that there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of misinformation, and I just encourage people to not only do some research for themselves, but ask questions and ask people who you trust. And again, trust your own judgment and be involved, because I know it's the presidential election, but we also have other things on the ballot. There's local and state and other, candidates that are running, and these affects us, most importantly as well. So I encourage everyone to not only be in tune for the presidential election, but also our other elections coming up, and even next year, there's a mayoral race and, city council race. And so this is where you, hey, go online. I know the newspaper, some people just don't read newspapers anymore. They get their news online, and that's okay. So no matter what generation you are, you owe it to yourself and others around you to be informed about what's going on because you make the decisions.
Wow. So uh, what is being done to make sure people want to participate, to make sure they can? I know that you describe your role. I think you do with voter engagement with Mother Justice. You probably may need to tell our audience what exactly is Mother Justice, and then what's your role?
Okay, Mothering Justice is the Black women led, our executive, founding executive director, Danielle Atkinson. She just created this wonderful grassroots advocacy organization. And what we do is we encourage Black and Brown moms to become more civically engaged. And of course, we have allies that may not be a mama or Black and Brown, but we really cater to Black and Brown moms because often we are the most affected by different policies that affect us, and yet, our voice is not always listened to. And while I'm not a mother by birth yet, I look at the experiences of even my own mother, single mother. And so we got involved in 2018. I was still kind of reeling from the loss of my own mom. And I wanted to honor her and think about the things that she didn't have. So at Mother and Justice, we fight for paid leave, basic needs, affordable childcare, unpaid sick time, which recently, it's going to take an effect in February. So we're very proud of that. And, again, reproductive rights. These are things that affect Black and Brown women being in those marginalized communities. And so we have the power. And so right now, my role is lead voter engagement organizer. So it's mobilizing people to vote, which, when you think about phone banking, when you think about canvassing door to door, it's a lot of that going on. Even events, like we want to meet mothers where they are. And again, our network is growing, we're building power. We, seek out to get in touch with our legislators because again, they're making policies that affects the children. Even as an educator, I still go into mommy mode and I think about the next generation and what they need and fighting for them. And so I love, being a part of MJ, Mother Injustice. And so, yeah, it's a busy season. It's election season. We've got, I think, 50 something days till November 5th. So we're out on the pavement. You can catch us out doing that. Knocking, you might see us around knocking on your door.
What is so if people say somebody they're not sure if they're registered to vote, what's the first step? What do they need to do?
Well, you can go to michigan.gov, vote 411. There's so many other sites out there. And I think that for some people, they're a little embarrassed, like, oh, how do I ask? I'm not sure. I think I'm registered. And again, I always say there's no such thing as a dumb question. Find someone reputable, someone you trust, someone votes, right? I think even back to my high school teacher days, I started my juniors and my seniors to already think about voting, getting them kind of registered. And so it's just a process. You want to, again, go on michigan.gov, check your voter registration, find your voting polling place, and also make a voting plan. So we can dive more into that.
Yeah, what would be a voting plan?
Just a voting plan. Again, checking your registration, making sure that you are registered. You also want to make sure you have a voting plan, and that's hey, I plan to vote early, or I plan to vote on election day. A lot of people, who don't have cars, might be, riding a bike, or they might be riding with someone. Someone might be offering a ride. Like you might can catch a ride with them. So you just want to have a plan to say, okay, this is my plan for voting day.
What is once people they go to the website? What was that website? 411.
Yes, vote 411.
Vote. So anybody can go vote 411. And I actually want to do a demo. I'm gonna share my screen and see, vote 411.
And while you are through your screen, I want us to think about some important dates. So September 26th will be the first day that you can vote in person with an absentee ballot at your local clerk's office.
Okay.
October 21st will be the last day to register to vote online or by mail. After October 21st, you will need to register in person at your local clerk's office.
Okay.
October 22nd is the last day to drop your ballot in the mail. After October 22nd, we recommend returning your ballot to your local clerk in person. Now, October 26th is the first day of the mandatory early voting period. We have a few early days this time around to vote. So you can start as early as October 26th. And the last day of the mandatory early voting period is November 3rd. And then November 4th at 4 p.m. is your deadline to vote in person with an absentee ballot at your local clerk's office. If you're already registered to vote where you live, after that, you must vote at your polling place on election day. So remember, guys, even on election day, the polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. local time. If you need to register, you can register and then vote at your local clerk office until 8 p.m. You do that, you can register and then vote at your local clerk's office until 8 p.m. So don't forget that.
All right. So those are important dates. So you mentioned that the absentee ballot is up. So what was the deadline? That was October.
Okay, so first day that you can vote in person with an absentee ballot is at your local clerk office. It's September 26th.
Okay. September 26th. That's when you can start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what's the deadline? Well, I think you said
the last day to register to vote online or by mail is after October 21st.
Okay.
So after the 21st, you'll have to vote, register in person at your local clerk office.
To register in person. Okay. And I want to do a demo of Vote 411. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see. All right, so that's the screen I'm sharing. There we go. All right, so then, so on forward, what do I do here? Do I click on register to vote?
Yep. Mm-hmm. If you need to register, and then you can also check your registration on there as well.
Okay. So then would I put my email on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna it's my current zip code. So all right. Okay, so then it asks me if I'm a US citizen. So I say yes, I am. Am I a Michigan? Oh, am I at least 17 years old? Okay. Am I a Michigan voter? Yes. All right. All right. And then, so you got to answer questions. Okay. Have you updated your driver's license? Yes. Have you applied for it? No.
Or state ID, because not everyone has driver's license.
Okay. I'm just curious what it's. Did it go? What happened? Did I miss something? Oh. Oh, okay. So it's download. It's now what's this? Or download a voter registration file language. Let's see. Next step. Proceed. Do I click? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I probably got to check my email or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to do a demo. So, all right. So that's you can go to Vote 411, put your email information in there, and you can register to vote online.
Or Michigan.gov.
Michigan.gov. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go more into some of the other stuff that you're getting into, and I'm going to show a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back in just 1 second. Hey, Detroit. Are you a Detroit area small business owner, entrepreneur, leader of a nonprofit organization, or a business service provider? And are you looking for ways to share your product, service, or your programs with a local Detroit audience? Let us help you increase your reach by becoming an ad sponsor with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast powered by Empower You Ventures. Our weekly video podcast is a growing local feature on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn that focuses on local business and community news. This gives you a chance to connect with local Detroit customers or clients. We offer cost-effective ads to fit your needs. Click the link to learn more about our current ad specials. And remember, connections matter. This is Charlie the Plug with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast.
Black Leaders Detroit, they knew that during the pandemic, that Black businesses were going to be left out of any type of funding that the government gave, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to figure out how they could step up and help, because again, this is their community, and they want to make sure that their community is still here when this pandemic is over with, and the only way you can do that is by offering support to your community, and so they stepped up and they did that.
I've been telling everyone I know about Black Leaders Detroit. The things that they're doing is simply amazing. And they're taking care of business for the Black business owners.
It's $1 a week donation to keep this great thing moving. $1 a week keeps it popping. Black Leaders Detroit.
All right, so we're back. For those who are joining us live, we have very special guests in the studio today, Deanne Austin. We talked about Politics 101, how to get engaged, how to get involved to make a difference. She shared her story and how she got involved with community organizations and being involved in volunteering and serving the community, and how she developed that as a passion. And we talked about just some of the important deadline dates for voting and how you can go online at michigan.gov or vote 411 to register or find out if you're a registered voter. And we talked about this importance of knowing who your elected official is locally, whether it's in the city, the county, the state, and the U.S. representatives, both congressmen and senators. So now we want to turn to back to Deanne and share a little bit more about what are some stuff that you are working on and how people can, if they want to learn more about what you're doing and be educated on community organizing, what is that all about?
Okay, so some people like community unifier or community builders. I know that, community organizing is often seen as like an elder term, but I think back to my favorite community organizer, of course, that would be former President Barack Obama, who just really started at the grassroots heart of it, right? You're never too good to knock on doors. You're never too good to phone bank. You're never too good to talk to your neighbor. I mean, that was I'm a church kid at heart, part of like a fundamental value of like love your neighbor, take care of your neighbor, and what not only affects you, but what affects others. And I know I've been telling some of the younger generation, Gen Z, who I love, who I coach and love, to just pick a cause that's passionate about, or has affected them or their family, like gun violence. I have never been a victim of gun violence, but recently I attended a candlelight vigil with City Council President Mary Sheffield and other community leaders, and that's something. Gun violence is kind of the number one cause of our children dying or young people dying, and it is just even that when you think about it nationally, and so we need to become evolved on what's going on around us, right? I'm a very big proponent of the environment, being a kind of environmental justice. Some people say, oh, you're a tree hugger. But look at the way our climate is going. We're having these, they used to call them every, 100-year rains, but these 100-year rains are happening every day. And how does that affect us when, our water system, which brought me to Detroit Future City, I wanted to learn how green infrastructure worked, and giving out rain barrels to not only my neighbors but installing one myself, to cut down on some of the drainage fees. Everything kind of go hands in hand. And when I think about caring about marginalized communities or underserved communities, these are things that affect us the most, such as climate change, right? Such as education. I've been in education many years, and so yes, we need this to go to schools and learn, but how are they getting their books right? We need proper resources, especially when we think about post-pandemic, which is still odd to say because COVID is still here, and the effect that it had on our children and the learning system. I mean, just trying to repair that part of it. When we think about the housing crisis, people are losing their homes, rates are going up, car insurance is going up, which is why I'm a big advocate for transit reform, right? Making sure our public buses running on time, right? Whether you take the Q line, whether you take the Uber bus, the Puritan bus, we want to make sure that these systems that are in place are not only accessible but affordable. And so it all connects. Voting, it's just it's all one big, what I call the circle of life. RIP to the great James Earl Jones, aka Mufasa to me, again dating myself. And so we're all connected in the great circle of life. And so I think that I often say that there's this narrative that Detroiters are poor or resource lacking, and I call it our own Wakanda. We actually are. We have some great resources. It's just that we are connection poor. So how do we make these connections? How do we make sure that everything is interconnected? We might have a great place right on the west side, but you might have to take 3 or 4 buses to get there. So making sure that we are not only interconnected, but we're helping each other out. We're building a sustainable city, a thriving city, right? Not just downtown. There's other parts of the city, strong neighborhoods, strong homes, and which is why I invest in the power of our younger generations, right? This belief in them, because they're going to carry us to that next generation. We have to just make sure that they have everything in place. And so in my organizing, that's what motivates me and gets me going.
Wow. Man, this platform, we're about celebrating what people are doing in the community. We're so honored to have you here with us to talk about what you're doing. And you're on fire, passionate. What can you tell people if someone who's watching this, who may watch the replay, is interested in getting involved in the community? Where do they start? How can they begin?
Well, where do you want to start? What strikes out to you, right? You might be on your phone and you might say, oh, wow, a mandated charter meeting? What's that all about? Or, okay, this says D5. I live in D5. They're having a block party? That sounds fun. Or, oh my gosh, hey, this organization or company is building this or partnering here and they want to sponsor this and they're trying to implement this, or the city says we're growing this. And whatever sticks out, whether it gets your little goosies going, it makes you ask a question, it makes you feel a certain feeling, you're intrigued, you're upset. I always say, go to a meeting, go to an event, right? I know like Detroit city planning departments, they're out here at some of the farmers market events, at different events. And again, you don't know who the city council person is, research that, right? Know like who's making the decisions in your neighborhood, things that affect you and your family, wherever sparks your interest, wherever your passion lies, go to that, right? And so someone said, Deanne, can you pick one thing? It's kind of like you're all over the place, but that's my heart is. I love education. I love children. I love families. I love, things of urban farming, planning, especially in the city. So I love being involved, and so I encourage everyone to get involved in something. If I don't know how busy you are, whether you work or you're in school, whether you're volunteering at your church, I want you to extend yourself. extend yourself outward to help. I think that's all, important. Like be of service, not only to yourself, which is important, right? Taking care of your mental health, but
Right.
remember to think of others as well.
Okay, so that's good. So get started, find out what's going on in the community, volunteer, learn about things. Do you encourage people to volunteer in a political campaign or just to learn more about it?
Yes, whatever floats your boat. I know that as a political person, I know people are just like, oh my gosh, every day, when is November 5th?
Yeah.
And that might not be, something that you're into just yet, but you don't know if you're doing the research on your candidates. Google them or do your own research, right? And again, there's so much misinformation out there. There's a lot of scamming going on, and you just want to do your due diligence again. And it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to ask questions, but you have to, make your own opinions and what affects you, right? So it's just get involved. Like you can start off with the church. You might want to get involved with a political campaign. You might want to do an ambassadorship, right? Or go to again a cool weekend meeting. So I know it is going to get cold soon, and that kind of discourage everyone to kind of like not go out, but get out there. I encourage everyone again to just get involved in something that's going on. And again, I'm a political person, but I understand that it's stresses everyone's out a bit, but it's so important. It's so needed. So I encourage everyone to be a little bit more civically engaged. I ran into, because I do a lot of door knocking, I do a lot of direct voter contact. There is a misconception that if you have a felony conviction, you can't vote, and that's just not true. If you are a returning citizen or individual with a felony or misdemeanor conviction, you still have voting rights here in Michigan, right? So citizens not actively serving a sentence, including misdemeanors on probation who are away from citizen, can still register to vote. So I want you to, you still have time. Remember, even if it's 7 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna vote. Oh my gosh, I should vote, right? I have a voice. You can still go in and register to vote. There are some things that are scaring a lot of folks when I go door to door. If you don't, if you're not voting early or absentee, people are leery, like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. What if something happens to me? And there are some what I call good people on the good side of democracy, just helping defend our right to vote. It's actually today marks the anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1957, and historically, it had to be ratified a few times to make sure we had the voting power that we do, especially as African Americans and minorities. So I know we say this every election. This is the election of your lifetime. Yes, it is. It is. It is the election of our lifetimes. And again, this isn't like the Lions versus the Rams, right? We're talking about reproductive rights, right? We're talking about the economy. We're talking about different metrics that affect us. So yes, your voice is important. Also, I want to get rid of the stigma that young people are disengaged. Yes, there are some people who are disengaged and do not care, but there are a lot of people who do care. They're just maybe unsure. So I encourage them to, again, make sure you register to vote. Vote. Make a plan. I'm gonna go with my cousin. Rest her soul, I miss my grandma so much. One of our big things that we did together was she always took me to school. She even took me to work till I was like 34, until she got sick. And we love to vote. That was our main thing. I think the first time I voted at Michigan State on campus in East Lansing. But after that, I would call her, I was like, Grandma, I need a ride. She's like, I'm gonna come pick you up. We're gonna go up to Jesu. That's our voting, our polling place. We're gonna vote and we're gonna get our sticker and you're gonna change the world. And I think that she would be proud, she would be very proud of her Puritan princess, like motivating others to do what we did. And I always say, I would tell my sister, Austin is not as she wants us. I know. But one day, I'll have my cane or maybe be in my rocking chair. And I hope that there is a young person who's just continuing that passion of just motivating their community and voting to affect not only them, but the future as well. We want to leave this place as better as we found it. So vote.
All right. So I wanted to recognize, we got a comment there, Harrison Shelby. He talked about know who's making decisions in your neighborhood. And I talked about that in the intro, just know who's in the elected official in your local area where you live. We live in representative democracy, so wherever's the city council, some suburban areas may have, they may have a supervisor, township supervisor, or you want to find out from local, from county, the state, the federal, who's in office, what's their contact information, email, phone numbers, call them, send emails, talk to their administrative assistant, go to their meetings. Sometimes they have public meetings, whether it's Zoom or in person. So we want to encourage engagement. So as we land the plane, what I wanted to do, we're on the eve of a presidential debate, and here we're not endorsing the candidate. We're just encouraging people to be engaged. But I would like to know, what are you looking to? A lot of people are already made up their mind, and there are, according to the polls, there's some undecided people. In Michigan, we are considered a battleground state, and according to several polls, Michigan is kind of a Tulsa.
Yes, battleground.
So what are you looking to learn about the debate, or is there anything that would interest you about this debate?
It will be an interesting debate to say for sure. I will be looking for policy talk. We do have two candidates that have White House experience, and we'll be looking at what they have done in the past and what they plan to do in the future. So that's why I always say research that candidate. What one person says might be a little, you'll have to make your own informed decisions on can you trust them, right? So there are a lot of people who are on that fence, right? A lot of people do, they've already made up their decisions. But you want to look at policy, things that align with you, and what you believe is possible for the future. So it'll be an interesting one to say the least. I'm super, super excited. I guess I'm going to have to come back and talk with you all so we can do a follow-up on what happened. But I'm super excited. I'm geared up.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to share what people are going to see this on the replay, and they may be learning more about your story and how you can contact that. I have a slide here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so this is how you can connect with Deanne. We have email, Deanne@motherandjustice.org. We have your LinkedIn. Is it okay for people to reach out to you?
Yes.
We have Instagram, Deanne for Detroit. That is right. Put it in there.
Yes. Please follow me on there. It's very busy. Yes.
Do you offer any, I don't want to say consulting, but just advice to people who may want to enter community organizing and learn more about? Well, what about books or courses or something that they can learn about how to become a better community organizer?
Yes. And there's so many different books, and I want to again, you do not go to college to be a community organizer, right? It's wonderful. I mean, I know that people kind of feel like you don't have a law degree, you shouldn't be making decisions, and I think that's just kind of ridiculous, right? I think even as a grassroots organizer who loves policy and understand how policy works, you can just again take up an interest, right? Read a book. There's someone out there that is doing the work that you're doing, right? I'm the Puritan princess, and I'm finding that people are just doing amazing things, even on Puritan, right? I did 5K. It's something more about my neighbors and what's going on. People they're building bookstores, they're starting LLCs, They're being entrepreneurs. They are making partnerships with schools. So I think that, again, there's this belief of you have to move, you have to go out far. But what if we had everything that we needed in our own community, right? We could live, play, go to school, and enjoy our own city, right? Watch movies in our city and be safe in our city. So if you want to reach out to me, please find me on any of my social media handles. And I would love to connect with you, and I love to talk to you. No matter, the circumstance, let's see how you can be involved. Right? Detroiters are Detroit. We're what makes the city go around. And so I would love to, meet and connect with you all, share some resources. And also, again, if you're on social media and you see a cool event going on, check it out. Whether it's your school, college, or your high school, or your elementary school, tell your mom, tell your grandma, tell your family and friends on how you can make a difference. We have neighborhood cleanups going on, so much things going on, helping our neighbors with urban safety, everything, eat better, and things like that. Community gardens I really, really love. And so, yeah, just reach out to me.
All right. Well, that wraps up our episode of 121, Politics 101. Get involved, how you can make a difference. So we want to thank our guests.
Thank you. This was my first podcast
Really?
pre-COVID. I haven't done a podcast since before COVID, so
Okay.
I'm glad to be back in this space.
All right.
And I'm putting myself out there. I will be back. So we do Politics 102 or 101 Part 2.
After the election.
Yes.
So we're the first people to watch the debate. We shared information on how to check if you're registered online, Michigan.gov, and vote for one. So yeah, we want to get involved, find out who your local official is. Reach out to them. Know what's going on with the decisions. Don't be afraid to go to these meetings. And your vote does count. People say that your vote doesn't count. Yeah, your vote counts. People look at that. By you not voting, that's kind of voting. People say, well, they don't really care what happens. It's not going to change their life. But by you sitting at home, that's kind of like a vote. Your non-vote is a vote.
Make sure you're heard.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you're heard, that you're supposed to be heard. So
especially because Michigan is so close. It's such, a tight run. You don't want to have any regrets and say, I was sitting on my couch. I should have voted. Do it.
Yes. Yep. So as they say, this is a toss-up. So this election is going to be decided by just a few votes. So in the so-called battleground states. All right. So that wraps up our episode. I want to thank those who watched us live and watched the replay. There'll be information in the description below. You can reach out to our guests if you have more questions, learn about community organization, organizing, as well as the Mothering Justice, if you want to learn about what they're doing, and follow her. I think she hasn't made any announcement or anything, but I think her passion is going to lead her to greater and bigger things, and we're going to be watching you. So thanks again.
I'll be watching you, Detroit. So
yes.
Watch each other.
All right. So that wraps it up. So thanks again. We'll be here next live next Monday. A friend of mine is an attorney going to come on. He has an organization called Father's Justice. He works with men and making sure they advocates for them for being involved in their children's lives, with custody arrangements, stuff like that. So look forward to that. Be sure to watch the debate, and we'll see what's going on. And remember, connections matter. And I'll see you next. Hey everyone, this is Charlie the Plug, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, powered by Empower You Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe so you too can be a part of the biggest empowerment network on YouTube and Facebook. We bring you weekly interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship, community involvement, also reaction to business news and community news. This does not happen without your support. Thank you.